Hey guys, Moy Style Baseball here. We're back with another episode of Moy Style Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Now that's where the money is. Hey guys, so today we have Luke Toms. I've been talking to this guy just for a few minutes yesterday, and I was checking out his stuff, and he's another fielding guy, so I thought it would be great to pick his brain and kind of see how his approach about fielding and everything. So, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get going with the question?
Sure, yeah. So right now I'm based out of Las Vegas. I run a baseball academy as well as do like some consulting and work with pro and college guys in town. But played at a couple of JUCOs down south, one in Alabama, one in Tennessee, and then finished my last 2 years at Lee University.
Yeah.
Played shortstop and second base.
Okay.
And then now I just train.
That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah. I know you mentioned that yesterday about training pro guys and everything. So what do you think it's like when a pro guy comes to you, like what do you mainly, obviously it's a little bit different for everybody, but what do you mainly focus on with those guys?
For me, I like to talk to the player first and tell them like how was your spring, how was your season, and then they come back for the off season, and it's about details for me. So like we have a guy right now, it means having a little bit of trouble with his backhand and like focusing more on the catch versus like your throw to first base.
Yeah.
Kind of like to skip that step a little bit. So we focus on more of like glove presentation, how we catch the ball, and just looking at it into your glove. Just those little details there. Just prioritizing catch over anything else.
Yeah. So basically, a lot of the things that you do with the pro guys is the same thing you would do with the younger guys. Obviously, a little bit more.
With the younger guys, it's more specific stuff, and like we like to dive a little bit deeper. With those pro guys, like they have a pretty good grasp of what they need as far as like development, and then we just give them plans and then just attack those areas of focus.
Yeah. Now, if you're looking at a kid for the first time, or let's say as a new infielder, so like what would you focus on the most? Like footwork, glove work, posture.
For me, man, like I have five principles that I like to teach, and that's pre-pitch, that is angles, glove presentation, throwing accuracy, and posture. We focus on those things. For me, I feel like those are big league principles of what makes a Gold Glover.
Yeah.
Because if you watch a lot of big league guys, some of them are very, very passive, and their numbers don't lie. They speak very loud. So you can tell a really good infielder based off their angles and how well they can just play one game of catch.
Yeah, no, that's pretty true. Now, what about if you're looking? I ask these questions to a lot of infield coaches. So I get a lot of kids that are afraid of the ball, right? Mm-hmm. So do you think it's got to do with timing, posture, mechanics? What do you think it's got to do with?
I think a lot of it is just reading hops. Like you see a lot of kids that'll be like scared of the ball. They play very passive on their heels.
Yeah.
And it's just like building it in phases, man. Like if you work from the ground up, so we do pick work, hand to activation, we focus on posture, and as well as like our movement. Because if you have bad posture, you play really passive. If you have good posture, you move downhill towards the ball.
Yeah.
And I think shortstop is probably one of the hardest positions to play because it's a very high demanding position, which as far as like moving to the ball, you're the furthest away, right?
Yeah.
So like you have to be on, like I call it full attack mode in some chances, right? Because you have to catch that ball and like get rid of it. The higher the game you go, the faster the pace, faster the speed, the better the runners are, the harder the batters will hit the ball. So.
Right, I got you. So what about like when they're, we always talk about as an infield coach, like about the hip hinge, right?
Correct.
So what about those corner guys? Do they have to get lower? Obviously, the closer they are, do they get lower or do they stay the same? How do you?
Yeah, so I like my middle guys a little bit taller, more athletic because they're further away. I like my corner guys lower, so like I like their chest down, and I like them split, like a split step. So like I don't like them square because I feel like that's where like a lot of error happens whenever they get square because they like can't adjust to hops, right? So I say corner guys work off an X, shortstops work off a V. But second base is very, very similar to working at third base. You're right next to first base, so it's just a catch and a throw. Right. Like you have a little bit of time. So my corner guys are off the X. They can work backwards, they can work forwards, and that's all based off speed of the ball too.
But what do you mean by square? Like, maybe I missed that part. Like,
So I'm talking like their feet are square like this. And with that being said, like if a ball is right in front of you and like you're trying to lengthen that in between hop to a long hop,
yeah,
or shorten the ball,
yeah.
keeping your feet split, that way you can adjust to that hop.
You're talking about when they're doing their pre-pitch or when they're
When that ground ball is hit, right?
Yeah.
So like I always talk about like a nice center line here.
Yeah.
Anything hit left that center line, they're gonna open up to that favored side, like their forehand side, and then working backwards and forwards.
I got you.
Right?
Yeah.
Being able to adjust, lengthen, or shorten the hop. Same
Yeah.
thing to your backhand side.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next question, because a lot of people think that, when you're working back, it's like you're backing away from the ball.
No.
So what?
You're working smarter, not harder.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And just saying, I always say, just like in lack of better terms, like third base is a bastard position. You're getting all those rollover topspin balls that are capped with that funky spin. So the more space and time you can give yourself, the more space and time you can read a hop, when to go get it, when to go back, and lengthen.
Yeah, no, for sure. What about the throwing part? Do you do a lot of throwing with your infielders, or you mainly focus on the catching part of it, footwork and all
No,
that
I think catch play is one of the most underutilized skills for infielders. So I don't really care about arm strength. I like them to be accurate. I want them to make an outstanding play and finish with it right there at the chest.
Right.
If you throw hard, that's just a plus. But a lot of kids that throw hard, they can't control it.
Right.
So everything's like all over the place. So like you watch Ellie Day LaCruz, you watch O'Neal Cruz, great athletes, but everything is on the heels and on the backside of the shortstop spot. So they're trying to throw everything 95. Look at their stats, 30 plus errors, and that's just because a lot of it's throwing, not using their angles, not going to the ball and then making 90-foot catch. You know what I mean? I tell my shortstops, you want to work your angles good enough to where you can play 90-foot catch. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You're catching a ground ball, you're catching a pop fly, you're catching a line or non-drive. So my infielders know that whenever you're on the dirt, it's one big game of catch. Best teams do it at a high level.
Hey guys, if you would like to work with me remotely and learn what it takes to become an elite infielder, just send me an email right here below, or you can click the link in the description and book a call with me. You can also send me a DM, whatever you follow me, and I'll get you started on the right path. So if an infielder doesn't have much of an arm, like it's got an average arm, so where would they play? You're saying that they play on the dirt more, or they play more on the edge?
Well, I mean, you would have to find a spot for him, like
right.
A guy that doesn't have a great arm will probably shader towards like second base. But your athletes play short, your athletes play in the middle.
That was my question, really, for shortstops.
Right, so like I know a lot of guys that like to recruit athletes. That way you can put them anywhere, you know? Like a lot of shortstops will end up playing center field, outfield, heck, some even catch and pitch too.
Yeah.
So like you just want to be athletic as possible just to give yourself a chance. And like, I think versatility plays a huge role for that too. Just because you were brought up as a shortstop doesn't mean you're going to play it your whole life. So being able to understand how to play third base, how to play right field, how to play short, second, first, all those.
Yeah.
Like know the demands of every position that you can play.
Yeah. No, and I always talk about, I don't know if you agree with this, but I think everybody should learn, to play like a shortstop, because like you said, I think it's just a lot easier to move anywhere else than try to, like an outfield. I think it's harder to come from the outfield to the infield.
It is.
And now cut things back, and it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you pointed that out. Now, and I've been asking this same question to some of the infield coaches. So why do you think, some kids do a great job with the, short distance drills, and then when they get in the game, it's like a complete different story. They catch different, they throw the ball different, they can't get it together?
That's a great question, and I think it's just they don't practice high tension, high intensity stuff. So my biggest thing is like, yes, drill work is good.
Yeah.
Drill work is great. Like if you have an area of focus for hand work, like short hop picks, learning how to funnel, like that's great. But my biggest thing is what can you do to put a player in some sort of environment that can translate to that in-game success? So putting pressure on them, put them on a clock, make every ground ball high intensity. Like I do a thing where I'll either have them on a clock, or I will hit a ground ball and I'll yell out a number right whenever they're about to field it. I'll yell 1, which means catch and go. 2 means catch, you got time, then let it go. Just something to like put into their brain that, hey, like I have to catch and get rid of this ball, or I catch it, I got time. You know what I mean? Just putting that constraint on them and like letting them understand that not every ground ball is going to be a cakewalk.
Right. Well, I'm kind of curious. So, what's the difference between? Because I've never done it that way, so I'm kind of curious how you go about that. So, I normally let them know way in advance, right? So like basically, like if you're seeing the batter, right now they know what kind of runner they are for the most part, right? Because sometimes you can't really tell. But what's the difference between doing that and doing what you're saying about like right before they catch it?
So I think whenever we talk about pre-pitch preparation, that plays a big part. Understanding who's on deck, understanding who is running, who's at the dish hitting, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about pre-pitch prep, I think reading hitters' strength of swing, reading their tendencies, you could tell a lot by like an on-deck batter. If they swing at everything like this, that means that they love to pull the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like people that like to pull off the ball, you can tell where their ball's going to end up going.
Yeah.
So that's that anticipation piece, knowing what's going to happen before it actually does.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then for me, it's like understanding. So I have like a formula that I like, and that's knowing speed of the runner times speed of the ball equals your time to first base.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have a big donkey up, he freaking shoots a ball right to you, you got a lot of time. A lot of kids like to rush that. But if you know who's running, that's it.
Yeah.
Just mastering the formula. That's what I like to call it.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, like why you would call it out right before they feel the ball. But that's
because
pretty.
There's no runner. Like sometimes you don't have the advantage of having live runners.
Yeah.
So that's why putting those like certain constraints on them will kind of help them be like, okay, like you said, one, I have to catch it and go, or like on the run or two-step and go.
Do you do stopwatch type of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like we'll usually like to do anything from like a 4.3 down to like a 3.9. 3.9 being a dude that just hauls down the line, which is good because some of those kids think that they have to catch it and get rid of it every single time, but not every kid's going to give a hard 90. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hopefully some do, but understanding that giving them those high tension reps are really beneficial because that's as close to game speed and your practice environment as you could possibly get.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, which you kind of somewhat touched on this already, but what do you think is the biggest difference between pro guys, like pro infielders, and then college guys or high school kids? Like, what's the biggest difference that you notice?
I think a lot of it is attention to detail. So, like with my guys, like they work on everything. But you can watch a dude do like ground balls. He'll field it and look at it. You'll have a college guy that just picks it and drops it right into like the bucket, right? So, like for my guys, they'll pick a ball, work on how like their feet work, and then like they'll feel it and then shut it down. Most college guys will just like get a rep, drop it, get a rep, drop it. But for me, man, like if you work on those little details that are like really good fundamentals, they go a long way. You know what I'm saying? Like and like don't be bored of those.
Yeah.
Those greats mastered the fundamentals till like they can't get it wrong. That's an elite player. It's like Michael Jordan, man, free throws all day long. Those are automatic points. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know if you ever heard of Omar Vizquel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I talk about it all the time. But he it's kind of funny that he would always talk about that, sticking with the basics. But he would always say that the routine plays for him were the hardest ones, right? Because everybody expects you to make them. Yep. So like that's what you're saying, like paying attention to the little details. Because obviously balls in the hole, right? Like backhand, way in the hole, forehand. If you make it, awesome, right? But if you don't make it, good try. Yeah. But when you miss those routine plays, that's pretty important.
That's what we have to do is just make the routine.
Yeah.
That's it.
Now, for a kid, I don't want to keep you up here too long, but for kids that don't have a strong arm, so what do you think they should focus on?
For me, they should focus on arm strength. Like something that gets them on like a good like program and understanding how to actually throw. So for me, like I
don't mean to interrupt, but I'm talking about like if they're playing right now and they don't have a strong arm yet. So like in the meanwhile, while they're getting stronger, like what should they focus on? Like the footwork, positioning?
I think accuracy.
Okay.
Accuracy is good. I mean, you can always do like your daily stuff, but for me, like on the throwing part, if you can't throw the ball to first base, you should work on being accurate.
Yeah.
Because that can keep you on the field. Like you watch a lot of guys like Dansby Swanson, he only throws like 83 across the diamond, like maxed out.
Yeah.
So what does he do? He always utilizes some sort of long hop, right? Like deep in the hole, he can't get it there on the fly. That's when like you talk about playing smarter versus harder.
Yeah.
You don't have to force the ball there. Let your first baseman catch a ball that bounces right up to his belt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just being accurate for me.
Yeah. I remember now you're saying that Omar Vizquel learned that from another player from Venezuela, and he would always talk about that he didn't one hop everything, but he said that he had to have that internal clock, but he would also, like, especially if they play on turf, he would actually utilize the turf to his advantage. So that's pretty good stuff. Well, last thing. So what would be your advice for kids that are younger, that are wanting to be elite infielders, but they're not there yet? Like, what would you...
Don't rush development. You know, like, it's a process, and a lot of people are so result oriented. They want the results now, but that's not how that works. I know for me, whenever I was younger, man, it was always fundamentals. I would have my brother hit me ground balls every single day. I would do my pick work, and it's like, for me, I wanted to be great, so I wanted to master everything that made infielders great.
Yeah.
And I would always study. I would always watch games, because I always say there's a game within the game.
Yeah.
Right. And I think one of those is baseball IQ, right? Like understanding your what's around you,
right.
Knowing who's on base, knowing who's hitting, what's the situation, outs, innings, who's pitching. You know, I think baseball IQ, understanding, reading the game that's inside of the game, and then just practicing like your basic fundamentals, man. Just being great at the little things.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because getting great at fundamentals, because sometimes kids take lessons, right? And they think, well, we took a couple of lessons, but then we sucked in the game. So they think it's
your fault.
Right. So like, I think it's just a constant work until you get pretty good at it, and that's when you start to, I feel like you're gonna be a little bit more second nature. So, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, for the lesson part, some people do 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
It's not enough. It's not enough.
No.
And especially whenever, like, you see somebody for 1 week and then take the rest of the week off and not do anything else, I think that's like a huge, like, disconnect there. So for me, like, man, if money's tight, like, I'm a guy that wants to make sure that this kid has everything that he has.
Yeah.
Like, everything that he has to have, his needs, everything. And then we put them on plans where, like, we can evaluate and watch. Their mom and dad will send the video, and then you guys can break it down there too. But I think a lot of it is, like, you expect so much out of just one session that the rest of the week goes by, and then you have to come back that next week and then start right over where you guys left off.
Yeah.
Like, there's no progress.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think
for me, like, it's every day, man. It's got to be an everyday thing. If you want to be great at this game, especially with how great some of these athletes are, you've got to be hungry for it every day.
Yeah, it's a good point. I actually talked about that at one of my camps, because I was giving an example. When I was growing up back home, I found a great infield coach. Back where I'm from in Venezuela, all we think about is, like, we're going to go pro, right? So, like, it was morning and then afternoon. I think, to me, that's what helped me out. Kind of like to your point, like what you're saying. Sometimes kids just do a 30-minute session and they don't ever touch a baseball for another week. I'm like, how the heck are you going to get better? That's a pretty good point. Well, man, I don't mean to take up much of your time. I appreciate you, by the way. How can people find you?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter on Infield Vitamins.
Okay, cool. All right. Appreciate you, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Hey, guys, I wanted to let you know my first base online course is finally out. So if you have players that struggle with this, or maybe this, or even this first base online training is not only going to help righties, but also lefties. I know a lot of you guys want to know about lefties, and I put this together for both. You'll be able to learn how to set up on the base, how to position yourself on the field, how to receive bad throws, and how to overcome your fears. So I highly recommend you check it out. Click the link below, or you can go to my website, moystylebaseball.com.